Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the program. It's Chris live in central Pennsylvania. Once again, let's check on the sound quality. It's Chris live. Oh, that sounds really good. And my guest today is not other than a fascinating arrival in the United States, a refugee from South Africa, Minri Lamprecht. And I have to say to Minri, welcome to the program. Goeiedag.
Thank you, Colonel. Very well in yourself.
All right. How were my G's? Were they okay?
Yeah, Lamprecht.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, but okay.
That's fine.
No, I meant for the good day, and then how are you doing?
Oh, yes. No, you're getting there. You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Hi, Wyatt Army. Hi, viewers.
All right. So we're going to have a fascinating conversation today. You and I have talked a little bit off air a little bit. And you offered to come on the program. You'd let me know when you're coming over, and you made it over here. But let's, right out of the gate, before we get into anything else, let's address something that came up in the last broadcast where I did the news, where people said that you applied for the program from Abu Dhabi. But that's not actually true, is it? You actually used to work in Abu Dhabi, but returned to South Africa to do the application. Is that correct?
Yes. So I lived in Dubai for 2 years, and I actually arrived back in South Africa about 2 weeks before this program was opened for South Africans.
So you applied for the program. Well, I mean, when did you do it? Did you do a statement of interest? Did you do the PRM email? Did you do the intake questionnaire? When did your process start for you?
I did the statement of interest on the. I did the statement of interest on the 6th of May. You mentioned it on your channel. So just to give you a little bit of background, when did I hear about the program for the first time? This is quite an interesting one. So I heard about this program on the 9th of February on a channel called Nisport. By Isak du Plessis, where he had a conversation with Neil Diamond, the president of the South African Chamber of Commerce in the USA. And I immediately downloaded the proclamation and the executive order from the 7th by the White House. And I had to read through it, and I waited for the statement of interest because I was still in my head, should I send a PRM email? Should I not? You know, it's a big step for a single mother to take that decision. And when the statement of interest came out, I was then in a position mentally to make that decision, and I submitted my statement of interest.
All right, so that's helpful, but people are going to sharpshoot things. They're mentioning it here, and I'll just correct it. People's memories shift a little bit over time. The statement of interest didn't come out to the 12th of May, and that's when you applied. You said the 6th, I think. So let's just clarify that.
Yes, yeah. So that would have probably been the 12th or the 13th of May, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't see my broadcast from Wimpy at OR Tambo then?
I did. I actually did. I did see that, and I also logged in, or I tuned in on the embarrassing meeting with Ramaphosa and Trump in the White House that you aired on your channel, and I had quite a good laugh. You had this big bucket of popcorn, and I've still got a video of that. So since then, I've been following you religiously, and yeah, I really enjoy your channel. So thank you for this.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for coming on. I appreciate you enjoy the channel. Yeah, I did get the popcorn out because I said it was going to be hilarious, and it's not hilarious from a standpoint of funny. It's hilarious from the standpoint of cheekiness, and I think that was the popcorn was appropriate, don't you?
Brilliant.
All right, so let's talk about an aspect of your situation, which is different than many of the interviews I've done already. You're a single-parent mom. You've come on here with a child all by yourself. You have stepped out on that plank and taken a leap of faith. Are you glad you did it?
Yes, 100%. 100%, no doubt. I've only been here for a couple of days. However, I've been to the States before Valentino was born. That is my son's name. He's 7 years old. And I am 100% a single mother. I raise my child all by myself.
Well, that's a fascinating story in and of itself. And of course, this raises another question, which I know you're prepared to answer because we talked briefly before this. And that's a lot of people talk about bringing their kids out who are divorced or who were never married, and they need approval because the South African authorities require you to have approval, legal approval to take your child out. So was that difficult for you to obtain from the natural parent of Valentino, or was that an easy process for you?
Luckily for me, unfortunately for him. So luckily for me, his father is not on his birth certificate or his passport because his father chose not to be a part of his life. So the birth certificate has no details for a father, and that is how how I got through that red tape that most parents have to go through. So luckily I didn't have to go through that.
So you didn't have to have a legal release then from the natural parent simply because he wasn't listed in the birth certificate. That's interesting.
Exactly. We've traveled before. We did live in Dubai for 2 years. We had no problems with that, traveling with my child. So yeah, I'm very fortunate, but unfortunate for my little boy that his father is not in his life.
That is unfortunate. And let me address something else here, too, because we just chatted about this. Just to dispel another myth, because the lies in South African media and amongst the politicians like Ronald Lamola, who calls it a white supremacy program because you have to be white and Afrikaner to come over, that's simply a lie. We've disproven that lie repeatedly with the Stolze family with their black adopted children, with the colored family who came on from Auntie and Elvira, as well as the other folks I've helped who are colored, and some Indians that come over. You have a different situation in which you said I could share this. I don't, so I'm not letting any cat in the bag. But Valentino's father is colored, and therefore he's mixed race. Not necessarily colored unless he adopts that culture, but he's mixed race. So that opens up another possibility here: someone who's mixed race. I talked about black and white interracial couples having mixed race kids. Some have come over, but none have come forward. So in your case, you have his father is colored, and so he would fall under that category, mixed race. And so we've opened another door to refute the lies.
Absolutely. Yes, that is correct. I'm not sure if you saw, but I did quite a heated little video yesterday, just mentioning that this program is not for whites or for farmers. It is for racial minorities in South Africa. And I'm also so sick of tired of reading headlines from all these media outlets that is just saying it's just for whites, it's just for farmers. It's not true.
Well, you can imagine my frustration as I've been reporting on this objectively and fairly. And I've also been pointing out the shortcomings and also told people about the challenges. I said, when you come here, you're making a break and it will be difficult. You start at the bottom. But it sounds like, and I haven't asked you your profession, but it sounds like you're a professional you went to Dubai. Obviously, people go there and work in industries, and many of them, I'm not sure what field you're in, but people work in finance, they work in trade, they work in hospitality. So you've done that. You've been to the States before. So you're a world traveler. So you've been around. Do you mind sharing what your background is occupationally?
Absolutely. So I studied hospitality management. I did work in hospitality for a couple of years, and then I got into real estate. So for the last 16 years, I've done real estate in South Africa and in Dubai. I've owned a real estate company in South Africa a couple of years back before I left for Dubai. So that is my background, is mainly real estate.
Well, this also helps break the myth, and we saw it with Stolze family, a family that was, not poor. And this is another situation here. You're obviously not a toothless, oakless, uneducated, poor Afrikaner, which is what some right-wingers said are coming over. Obviously, you've got some skills here. And obviously, you're an African. I see that you're wearing a necklace with the outline of Africa on it. And so Africa must be near and dear to your heart. And we did chat briefly. And if I'm not mistaken, you are also a Boermeisie of origin.
Ek is 'n boeremeisie. Ek is Afrikaans grootgemaak op die plaas, on the farm.
Indeed, open plus on the farm. Indeed. So, your story is once again very helpful for a lot of people. I appreciate you coming forward and reaching out to me. And also, I like the channel you started. It was fun watching you and Valentina go out in the snow there outside the hotel. But it's nice because once again, it destroys all the lies told about this program that can repeatedly get told here. So she said the father's son is the father's son is colored, Daniel. He's mixed. Okay, so keep up, man. You're falling behind. Okay, so Minri, what's it been like, the process? Did you deal with RSC on that side? Were they professional? Were they helpful? Did you run into any roadblocks? And how did you feel? And then we'll talk about what frustrations you might have had in the program.
So luckily, my process went semi-smoothly. So just to give you a little bit of a timeline, after I applied, my first contact from CWS or RSC was on the 21st of October. They gave me a phone call, and that was followed by an email. My first team screening interview was done by CWS, and they asked a few basic questions, and that interview lasted for about 40 minutes. And then my second screening interview was actually in person in Cape Town on the 12th of November. Apologies for that. He is watching a video and he's just getting very excited. Yeah. So on the 12th of November, I did my second screening interview. This was accompanied by 2 sets of biometrics done by USCIS, and a South African company as well. And the interview on the second screening interview was done on a digital device with someone in Kenya. So that was the 12th of November. Then the next week, the 17th of November, I had my USCIS interview in Cape Town in person. And I'm not going to lie, an hour and 45 minutes of asking me all kinds of questions and really digging in. I mean, these people don't play around. The USCIS make sure that you are very well screened, and that your claim for past and future persecution is valid.
Well, your case once again also proves something else, which I've been telling everyone. Despite how many thousands of cases there may be, every case is individual. Every circumstance is individual. Every situation plays out maybe in a similar fashion, but different fashion. So let me look at this. 13 May approximately is when you sent in the statement of interest. And then 21 October is your first contact. That's 5 months later. Then your first interview was 6 months after you sent in. And then it went quickly. 12 November, 17 November. And then by January, you're here just 2 months later. And of course, we have to take out a big chunk of that time because, about 15 days of that, 20 days of that was Christmas Exodus. So you subtract that, yes. Really, you're looking at 17 November and you take away those dates, really within actual time frame of working days, about a month after that, you were in the U.S.
Yes. Medicals on the 27th of November, and I got my approval letter on the 5th of December, 5 December, and then my orientation and flights came on the 10th of January, so almost a month after I got my approval letter, and I had 9 days to prepare, back up my life.
Wow. Well, that's better than some folks. We have talked to people who had 3 or 4 days, which is pretty tough. Was that difficult? Did you have a lot to get rid of? Or since you've been in Dubai, did you just have a minimal amount of stuff to deal with when you came back to get rid of?
So I literally shipped everything from Dubai to Cape Town, and then all of this came through. So some of my belongings from Dubai were still in boxes, and I sold it just like that. And luckily, my mother is still in Cape Town, and she was able to pack up the last few things in my apartment, or after we started traveling.
All right, so let's talk about what might have been frustrating or maybe didn't go so well, because from the surface it sounds like this went relatively smoothly for you, although it was a long period of waiting there. So what, from your perspective, was challenging or concerning, or did anything put you through a stressful period? Was any of it like that? Because a lot of people really freak out. Was there anything? But some people are very calm. So I'm not sure. You sound like a calm person. Was there something frustrating in the process?
No, I was very calm. I have patience to a point with certain things, but with something like this, you have to have patience. And people asking and checking the My Case portal, guys, stop! You're gonna drive yourself crazy. I just simply did not do that. My case still shows in progress, and I'm already here. Um, but yeah, there's nothing really that slowed anything down or that was frustrating. The only thing that really not I would say upset me was when they had to draw blood from my child and give him all his vaccinations. But I was more than happy to push through with that, because that is what's required, and I was happy to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that's a bit of a shocker. I don't know if he must have had some immunizations prior to that, I imagine, to travel abroad, but I'm not sure. But yeah, drawing the blood, kids don't usually like that. Drawing blood is not a pleasant experience. A lot of adults have
Yes.
trouble with it, no doubt about that. So you've been here a very short period of time. Let me just ask about your reception. Were you greeted by a refugee case officer at the airport? Did they take you to temporary accommodation, which is a hotel? And how are you doing? It's only been a few days. Have you started looking for a place?
Okay, so when we arrived, we had a very, very long travel time, almost 36 hours. We flew from Cape Town to Washington. We were in Washington for 11 hours before our next flight to Chicago. In Chicago, we had to wait about 5 hours, and then for another hour and a half on the plane, because they had to defrost the plane from the outside before we could take off to Eau Claire. Eau Claire is we have a very small airport here, so it's one of those small aeroplanes, almost like the South African Airlink aeroplanes, like 2 seats on each side. So that airplane had to be defrosted. So there we spent a little bit of time. So we were about behind schedule. And when we arrived in Eau Claire, we had volunteers, 2 beautiful, precious people, a couple. They are late 70s that received us at the airport with jackets, with beanies, with gloves. People are going to love this part, because in one of my videos I forgot what the word was, but it's gloves. Okay, so they received us with everything that we needed. They put us in their car. They brought us to our temporary accommodation, which is a hotel in Eau Claire, and the next day we were met with our caseworker. When we arrived in our hotel room, our fridge was stocked, our cupboards were stocked. We had everything that we needed. We were exhausted. The next afternoon, our caseworker arrived, and we did a bit of paperwork. We applied for the EAD and the I-94 form. And then we also started the process for the Social Security numbers. We have our appointments made for Friday, the 30th, coming now. And our medicals are already scheduled for the 19th of February. So that's ready to go. So we've had a very warm welcome. We had some South Africans come and meet us here at the hotel and bring food. And actually, the first night when we arrived here, I opened the fridge and I saw curry and rice. Curry and rice. And it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I digged into that. I was sitting on there, but I was so happy. So a very lovely lady that's been living in Eau Claire for a couple of years from South Africa made sure that we have some curry and rice ready when we arrived. She also brought some clothing and more food. So we are really, really well looked after.
Well, it sounds like you've had quite the reception there in Eau Claire. I mean, other than the minus 40 Celsius, I think people might line up to go to Eau Claire. But is that temperature getting your attention? I heard Valentino on your video. I played a little bit on my show earlier. He walked out. Ooh, it's cold out here.
Freezing. Yes. So if there's a breeze, a wind,
Ooh.
it gets rough. However, when there's no wind, you can still push through it for a couple of minutes. We did have some warnings here about frostbite, so we couldn't really go outside for more than 10 minutes. Otherwise, you would immediately get frostbite and hypothermia. So for most of the time, we've been in our hotel room. We've got a gym downstairs. I've been able to do some washing because I don't get behind with that. So we can move freely around, and it's just we have to select a good time to go outside and see if it's windy outside before we actually leave.
Well, I think the cold will catch a lot of people's attention. It's catching a lot of Americans' attention right now because we're in a deep freeze across much of the United States, a big swath of it, from Texas all the way up through the Midwest and across the Northeast. And we were in the place where they panicked and said it was going to be the worst, but I've been through far worse storms than this. It's just a bit of snow. But our roads are clear now, but they were kind of messed up. So that's good to hear that you're getting support from the refugee folks and a lovely couple that's assisting you. That's amazing. That's a reception that everyone should get. It doesn't mean we hold your hands, but you should feel welcome when you arrive here and you've got their attention. It sounds like you're pretty comfortable and happy with what they're doing for you already. You've got medical scheduled. Ironically, I go see a doctor around the same time you're seeing one to follow up on my hip, so I'll be seeing a doctor around the same time. So how is Valentino doing? It looks like he's adjusting very quickly, very, very well so far.
He's such an easy child. So what I did not mention is he is also on the autism spectrum. So he will be needing assistance on this side, just occupational therapy and obviously assistance in school. But he is such an easy child. I'm very blessed to have an easy and a good child. He has his moments, but he also knows where mommy's limits are. Unfortunately, I have to be the good cop and the bad cop, but he is so happy, nothing to complain about. He just goes with the flow.
So being a single mom is a tough situation. I mean, as you rightly point out early in the program, it's unfortunate that the father's not involved, but that's the reality you have to deal with here. So going forward, once you get there, he's going to have that, of course, without, at least in the short term, unless at some point, you have some sort of relationship down the road. Maybe somebody comes in. We can't predict the future. But short of that, he's got his mom. He's in a new place. He's going to start a new school. Going to be a lot of changes for him. But it seems like, as you say, he despite the fact he has on a spectrum there for autism, he seems to do okay with change.
Yes, yeah, no, even in Dubai, I mean, we went from one extreme to the other, 45 degrees to minus 30 degrees. He adapted so quickly in Dubai as well. He makes friends so quickly. He's not a shy child at all. So no, he adapts very easily, very quickly, and he's English. I'm raising him English actually from the start. He does understand Afrikaans, but I've always had an idea. Okay, we are not going to stay in South Africa, and perhaps that's that's something that I need to think of, is to raise my child English.
Because, of course, it's the lingua franca around the world in business and commerce and aviation, in science, in the internet. So it does make sense. But I would hope that he picks up a bit off Afrikaans, so at least knows a bit about it as he goes through.
Yes, no, he does.
Okay, well, that's good. So Paul Duncan just became a member. Thank you, Paul. There's a little salute for you for joining us as a member. Appreciate that. So, I got to say that, some people do impress me, but I have to say, Minri, I'm kind of impressed. You seem to be well-adjusted. You've hit a few bumps in the road, and you seem to have overcome them. You keep going. You have a healthy outlook on life. What does it take to rattle you? I mean, you seem to be pretty well adjusted.
Well, like my dad would say, we are Lamprechts. We don't give up. Um, we walk by faith with our Heavenly Father, and we work hard for the life that we want. So, um, something that would break me is if you touch my child.
Well, there
That's
you
it.
go. Well, there you go. That seems more than fair to understand. What about family? Yeah, you mentioned your mom back in the Cape. Did you is you still have all your family? Do you have siblings or cousins? If you don't want to talk about that, that's fine. But I mean,
Yes.
so you've left everything behind, and just the two of you have come over for now.
Yes, yes. So I am very close with my family, and everyone is very supportive, which I'm very grateful for. I do have family coming over. I'm not going to share that information right now, just to protect their identities, but there are family members coming over as well. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not sure if they will end up where we are. Our cases are linked, but you never know. You know, they might place them in another state, or we might just be lucky and blessed, and they will be placed here with us.
Well, Carol Ann sent a super chat saying, "Well done, you rock." I assume she's talking about you, Minri, and not me. Maybe she's talking about both of us. I'm not sure. And somebody claims to be your cousin here, Yolande Swanepoel. You don't have to address that or not, but they claim to be your cousin. So I'll leave it at that.
So,
Did you just give a thumbs up? You weren't on camera.
yeah, I just did a
All right. So
hello.
apparently that story is true. Okay, Yolande. Okay, thanks for sharing that. All right. Well, this did you in your wildest dreams ever think that you'd go back to South Africa and that someday you'd go live in America? I mean, you've been to America before and you've
Yes.
traveled around the world, but did you ever think you'd ever get a chance to live here?
So, funny story.
Aren't they all?
Uh, uh, so when I arrived in America in 2018, I found out that I was pregnant while I was here. And that's why I went back to South Africa, because I obviously didn't have a support system here. In a foreign country, I'm pregnant, you know. So I then went back to South Africa, and something always, stayed with me that I might be coming back to the States. And here I am.
Well, there you go. Listen, I mean, I look. I'm sure your parents told you about this when you were younger, but I mean, just a heads up. If you hang around with the fellas, you go run the risk of falling pregnant if you're not careful. Just saying. I'm just
I
saying.
know.
It's
I know.
a couple years tardy that advice, but it turned out well. You've got Valentino. He seems to be a wonderful child. So,
Yes.
but I think we chatted briefly before we went on air, and he was all excited because he says, "I'm watching Roblox," and I said, "Of course you are. That's what kids do these days.
Yeah.
Roblox. They love the
But that's
Roblox."
also very limited. I've limited his roadblocks. So I've got an app that I monitor everything that he does on his phone. So before the keyboard warriors go on about Roblox, yes, I am aware. I know. I've got it under control.
Exactly. There's a couple people in chat. One said that they were processed the same time as you. They might even been there when you were getting interviewed, and they've given up hope. Another one says that they've 2 to 4 weeks, and it's been 9 weeks ago. So I'm just going to interrupt for a second here. Then you can come in with your comments, okay? But two things. Number one, when you're interviewed, you cannot compare a case to someone else. Every case is different. We talked yesterday to a family, a Strauss family, that did the PRM email, they did the statement of interest, and they just got here a few weeks ago. So, people who came over later, some of them come at a different time. The process was convoluted. It was back and forth. It was proof of concept. They have not done in-country refugee status for some time. So the people with experience at the State Department are gone. And also people don't allow for the fact that the State Department lost over 33% of their staff since January 20th of last year. Many of them in the PRM division, which handles this process initially. People aren't considering that. Also the fact that President Trump suspended all funding to the program. So there wasn't money for this. And people keep going on and on about this. And now I'm going to talk to people who got a message and it says 2 to 4 weeks. You have not been watching my channel or you've not been listening to what I said. When you receive an email, it tells you that you could depart in 2 to 4 weeks. It doesn't mean you're leaving in 2 to 4 weeks. Do not end your life. It means be prepared to leave in 2 to 4 weeks. You're not listening to the message that was sent to you. It didn't say you have a flight in 2 to 4 weeks. You presumed, you made a decision. Now, that's unfortunate for you for not listening or not understanding, and it's also unfortunate they aren't clear on this. However, if you find yourself in a bind and you're coming here complaining about it, that's not going to solve anything. Send me an email. Don't waste your money on food. I can get you free food delivered to you free of charge through Food Socks. And we have people donating to them now, we've already donated over 15,000 Rand in meals to South Africans who found themselves in this situation. Normally, I wouldn't do it for people who make that mistake, but we're trying to help more people now. Normally, it's just for the people whose flights were canceled and they're buying. There's a number of people who had flights canceled for whatever stupid reason, and now they have nothing. So those people, unfortunately, at the mercy of dumb decisions made by the U.S. government or its contractors. But people who abandon everything they have when they've gotten a message that says, be prepared to leave in 2 to 4 weeks, you've made a mistake. I'm not going to punish you for that, and I'm not going to castigate you for that. I'm going to offer to try to help you with food at least. As far as accommodation, I can't accommodate everybody that makes that decision. But we have a number of people in the Western Cape and Gauteng who've offered free accommodation on a limited basis without even charging you. So send me an email. If we can help, we'll help. Okay. All right. So Minri, any thoughts on that about, getting the email 2 to 4 weeks and about, winding up in a bind?
I think it's a standard template that they use just to prepare you mentally. But it's definitely not, don't say, okay, today is the 1st and in 4 weeks I leave. No, it doesn't work that way. It's a template that they use. It's a kind of a safe timeline that they use. So no, don't get over over stressed about that. Just wait for your approval letter. After your approval letter, you will receive a confirmation of travel and orientation, and then okay, it's happening. Before that, carry on with your life. Don't quit your job. Don't sell your house. Don't sell your car. Get rid of the small things, the clutter, the things that you've wanted to get rid of for the last 10 years for people that really keep a lot of things. But just carry on with your life. Stop looking at my portal, my case. Stop asking on WhatsApp groups, oh, how about this? But my case, no. Stop. You're not going to get anywhere with that.
Well, they will get one where they'll raise their stress level and be frustrated and strike out other people. I mean, I've had people leave my program because they're angry. What you're angry at me for? I'm not the one offering you refugee status. I'm just one offering you cogent, lucid, predictive advice, and it's been right virtually every time. Everything I said has come true, which is, who can say that? Certainly not the weatherman.
Yeah.
So Minri, okay, now I'm going to shift a little bit here. All right, Afrikaners have this habit of having strange given names. Oftentimes, like from a father and a mother, they mash them together. Strange names. When I went and looked for your channel so I could list it. By the way, folks, if you want to find our channel, push her over 1,000 subscribers today. It's just below the description, and that's you can find a link to our channel. But there's like 2 Minri Lamprecht out there. There's another one. I was surprised to find that. And I'm thinking, Minri, that's an unusual name. All right, can you tell us what the deal with that is? I mean, That's a given name I've never heard in my life before.
Okay, so my birth names are Anna Sophia Maria.
Wow.
The 4th. I am the 4th. That is a very traditional, that's as traditional in the Afrikaans community. My dad and my grandfather did not really give my mom a choice. They just took me when I was born and they went to register me, Anna Sophia Maria. And so my mom did not want to call me Anna or Sophia or Maria. So she actually sat in the hospital. She wrote down all the names, Anna Sophia Maria, and she took Minri out of all those names and she put it together and she got to Minri.
Well, that is interesting to say the very least. I mean, my story is interesting too because Chris isn't my real name. It's not my given name, but of course, I was born at Christmas, so it's an interesting one too. But Anna Maria Sophia, it reminds me of a lot of my ancestors from Germany who were Protestants who had all these names like Maria, Charlotte, Sophia, Louisa. They have 4 names, and they pick one of those. So so it's not an Italian thing. Maybe it's a Christian thing. I don't know, but it is interesting to see all those names. Huh.
So funny that you mention Germany, so and Protestant. So on my father's side, the Lamprechts, we are our ancestors are from Germany, a small town called Zerentin, and we are Protestants. My great grandfather and his father was a priest. My grandfather was a priest, or dominee, like they would say in Afrikaans. And so we are Protestant, and yeah, that is definitely very German. And Valentino actually has a first name, Georg, which is also German. So Valentino is Italian, Georg is German, and I will one day take him to Germany to go and see where his name comes from. So yeah, lots of mix there.
Well, that's pretty cool. And of course, a name like Lamprecht, of course, it would be very German in its origin. Yeah, and Georg is in German is how we pronounce it. Georg, that's very German, very
Georg, yeah,
very very German. So that's a fascinating. He's got a fascinating background as he gets older. If he has any interest in his history, he's gonna be able to look at that European side, and then the mixed colored side that also comes into play there. It could have quite the fascinating study for him if he has an interest in that. But at 7, I don't think that's really something he cares about right now.
No, not right now. He just wants to play in the snow and enjoy his time on his phone and his tablet, and then look for friends outside. So he's headed somewhere else now. But I'm prepared to teach him about where he comes from one day.
His heritage, which is awesome. The Stolze family adopted 2 children who were abandoned. And they're also, I think they're Venda, if I'm not mistaken, and they're going to teach them about the Venda heritage as they get older, as they come of age. And
Beautiful.
So they understand. Yeah, that's wonderful. It's nice because that wasn't something that Americans really did when I was a kid. There were some people that did it. It's kind of a cultural thing, but not a lot of people. My grandfather did it. I didn't know about that till later in life. But when Roots came out in 1970s on television by Alex Haley, talking about his history, his family going back to slavery in West Africa, it lit a fire under genealogy. A lot of people got interested in it, and my interest started then, but I didn't have the means or resources to start it until the 1990s. In the 1990s, I started. Today, I have 26,000 plus people in my family tree, and I can trace my origins back to Sweden in the year 546 or something like that, which is it's kind of cool. And along the way, you find about rogues and good people and bad people, and they make for interesting stories. So you got there and you found a curry in the fridge. That was pretty interesting. So you're pretty excited. I know it's just been a few days and you're in a hotel, so it's not like you can really cook properly. But I don't know if you've gone out to eat somewhere or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of early to ask you how the food is. But so far, no surprises?
I cooked. There's a stove here. There's pots. There's pans. And I am a Burmese.
So you have like a studio, like a DoubleTree or something like that. Okay.
It's like a self-catering hotel room.
Yeah, I don't know what hotel it is, but DoubleTree by Hilton has like suites, apartments. They have a kitchen, they have dishes and such. So it might be something like that. Okay, that's pretty cool. So you've been
I've got
cooking.
a dishwasher. I'm ready to go. I haven't had to eat out once. I cook. And Valentino has cooked food every single day. We don't do really McDonald's. I will do it every now and then, but I am blessed with a child that does not eat candy or junk food. Not because I taught him not to. He just does not want it. I give him chocolates. I give him lollipops. He just says, no, thank you. He gives it one lick and he says, no, thanks. So I'm very blessed with a child that that is not after the candy, on that candy train the whole time. But I cook for him, and we've got more than enough here. We don't have to eat out. I would appreciate a nice, a proper cup of coffee. There's filter coffee here. Not that I'm a coffee snob. Maybe a little. But I would appreciate a nice cup of coffee. So we might actually go out a bit later and just get a Starbucks or something to to quench that coffee thirst.
Well, I've been saving a lot of money because of the bet that I had with Arctic about not drinking Starbucks. It's now almost 3 months since I had a Starbucks. Yeah, so that saves me about $7 a frappuccino, which adds up pretty quickly.
Oh, wow.
So I am saving some money. There's a question in the chat here I'll address very quickly. It looks like a bunch of people come in trying to spam the chat, so moderators need to be aware of what's going on in the chat. But this good news guy says, please make me understand how refugees get preference above people that actually apply for green cards, invest in the country, and whose priority dates are current, still waiting for papers. Well, I can't make you understand because there's no such thing. Refugees don't get priority. It's a completely separate program. Refugees, asylum seekers, legal immigrants, student visas, all different programs, all run by different people. So there is no comparison. That's like comparing a donkey to a giraffe. That's not even the same thing. So there is no priority. So stop assuming that, and you're wrong. All right. So yeah. All right. So you've been cooking in the place. It seems like a very comfortable spot. And you'll start looking for a place this week. Is that correct?
Yes, so on Wednesday, we will go with our caseworker to have a look at apartments. And according to the area where you get your apartment, we will then enroll Valentino into a school close to our address, our new address. Employment, they're going to help me with that as well, actually in a big way. I'm not going to give too much information on that, but they are on that train with me. So employment shouldn't be hard for me to obtain here. My LinkedIn is ready, my Indeed is ready. I'm ready to start. It's now just to get Valentino into school in order for me to start working. One thing I want to mention is I'm not sure when they started doing this, but the stamp in your passport that we got actually says employment authorized.
Right in your passport. Wow, so I guess it's not an EAD, but I guess you could show that. I'm going to make some supposition here why that might be the case. As I've said, refugees are automatically entitled to EAD. We went through a vetting process, so you're already so unlike a green card applicant or an asylum seeker who has to go through a period of waiting there, and a person who comes over to refugee is automatically approved. And the timeline that USCIS intends to approve that, the paperwork, is within 30 days of arrival. But it doesn't always pan out that way. So you're saying they stamp your passport, it says that. So you could go to an employer and show them a stamp from the U.S. government that says you're allowed to work in the U.S. Whoops, my hand went up. I didn't mean to do that. Got to take that down. Anyway, but okay, so that's a very interesting development there. That's a new one. We also heard something new, and I've got to run this down about Social Security. You can't apply for the Social Security card until you have your EAD. That's what we're being told. I don't know if that's true, but that's what we heard this week. So that's fascinating. That's interesting new information. So look, things change all the time. Programs adapt, they modify, and that sounds like what's happening right now is a change. Looks like you're answering a text message there.
No, Valentino just asked me to spell something on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Here you go, boy.
All right. Hey, can we get him on air for a second so he can say hi to folks?
Yeah, come, Valentino. Valentino, come here quickly. So hi, everyone.
He's being shy.
And off he goes.
Off he goes. That's fine.
Shy.
He's being shy. That's fine. Yikes. Well, that is an interesting development. Thanks for sharing that, Minri. That's something that we were unaware of and that I hadn't heard of. Interesting they would stamp it right in your passport. So I suppose in many ways that's good news.
Sorry, there's also you get a document from USCIS before you board the flight that you give to CBP, and they stamp that with the same stamp. So you can actually, it's almost like a visa. So you can use that document to also show that your employment is authorized.
Well, that's pretty interesting. So
I think it's a very new thing.
Yeah, it sounds like it is. So what are you most looking forward to? Is there anything you're looking forward to the next few weeks other than finding a place to live and getting him enrolled in school? I imagine those are priorities and finding a job.
I'm looking forward to just settle in our new home with my child, getting into a routine, and then getting him enrolled in school and start working ASAP. I cannot sit still. I need to start working as soon as possible. Yes, we have assistance. Yes, we have cash assistance, but I'm not going to rely on that 100%. I need to start working ASAP.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's the intent. We expect refugees to get off their bum and get out there and work, which I think most refugees have the desire to do, except for the Somalis apparently. But most other refugees from Congo and elsewhere around the world seem to want to get out there and work and make a living. So, have you had a chance to go anywhere in Eau Claire, or are you just like pretty much frozen by the hotel because it's so cold right now?
We were frozen into the hotel. But it's fine. It's okay. We actually did go just a very quick trip to Walmart just to get a few things that I needed for him specifically for his meals that I prepare, and then we came straight back. So didn't really have time to go anywhere else. The only other place we went, I have a new friend, South African, that's been living in the States for quite a while, that came to fetch me and Valentino on Saturday night. We went to Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, that's nice. Although the wait's usually long because it's very popular.
The wait, oh my goodness, almost out of the door.
Yeah.
The people were standing queues. So we waited about 20 minutes before we got a table. We had a very nice steak. We had a lovely glass of red wine. Not sure from where it is. Definitely not from Stellenbosch. I used to live in Somerset West, and it was around the corner to get to a wine farm. And I'm quite a wine girl. And so we had a lovely glass of red wine and a piece of steak, and Valentino passed out on my lap because he's still jet lagged, and he was so tired. And that's pretty much the extent of us going out. And then the video that you saw of us just walking out of the front door and just getting a bit of sun. That's the extent of where we've gone.
Well, it's interesting because, like I said, Texas Roadhouse is very popular. They really do a lot of business. Here, there's one just down the road, about 10 minutes away from my house, and I've only been there once. I was there once when I was a student at the War College because I stayed in multiple hotels when I came for the short trips. And so I'd been there a long time ago, about 15 years ago. But I've only been there once since I've lived here because every time I drive by, the queue is out the door, whether it's summertime, whether it's raining, and people hassling. So I went there with a friend of mine, and it happened to be a night when their point of sale system had failed. It was a disaster.
Oh.
The food was fine, but it was just a disaster. They were trying to do orders manual. It was almost like they forgot how to do manual orders by writing the things down and taking it to the kitchen. So when that point of sale system is up, they're pretty efficient. But the food was pretty good. I enjoyed it. But Texas Roadhouse is a big deal. I think the first time I ever had that was in Memphis, or not Memphis, in Nashville. I went down to visit my brother. So, all right, let's see what else we could talk about here. There was a question I wanted to pursue here a few moments ago because people were asking questions in chat. It wasn't related to that. Oh, yeah, that's what. So the new person you met from South Africa, new to you, is the South Africans lived over here on their own and they came over on their own. And so how did they find you? Did they see your YouTube channel and said, hey, I'm in Eau Claire, let's go out for dinner?
I joined a Facebook group for South Africans in Wisconsin, and a few people reached out to say, hey, we will come fetch you guys. We will take you out. We've got more people coming tomorrow just to come and see us and make sure that we're okay. So a lot of people reached out via the Facebook group. And it's important, guys, when you know you're on your way and you've got your final destination, join those Facebook groups and just mention, guys, we're arriving next week. Would love to connect and just connect with your fellow South Africans. It helps. It helps with the loneliness and it does help.
Well, again, because you're transitioning to something completely different. There are many similarities between the U.S. and South Africa, but there are also many differences. It's Botswana is not South Africa, even though it's right there on the doorstep. Even though they're off our corners in Botswana, Botswana is not South Africa. It's close, but it's not the same thing. And coming to America, even though culturally and linguistically we're relatively closer related, there are still tremendous differences, and there's adjustments. It's not a robot, for instance. It's traffic light, but. So what you're suggesting is that people, when they get over here, reach out to folks on Facebook. And I would agree with that. My recommendation, and like we talked about earlier, the Facebook and the WhatsApp groups are people who are trying to come over, and they're just putting themselves in stress that's unnecessary, because lots of people are cock prodders that go in there and spread nonsense, and everyone's like, well, this is the way it is, just because that's what they did. But again, each case is different, as we see here. But yeah, when you come over there are existing South African communities that are out there. I've reached out to a couple of them that are helping people and sending them care baskets and things like that. So yeah, I think that's great advice, and it's really nice that that person took you out. How long have they been here in Wisconsin, did they say?
He moved to Wisconsin about 7 months ago. Before that, he lived in New Mexico. His family is there as well. They're farming in New Mexico, and he is in Wisconsin. So he is also quite new. Yeah, it's just good to make new friends. And obviously the lady that lives in Eau Claire. Actually, there's another refugee family in Eau Claire. It is the lady who brought us a few things. Her sister and her children also came over, and they're obviously living with her as the US tie. US family until they go into their apartment. I think they move in today. So there is another refugee family here in Eau Claire.
Well, it sounds like Eau Claire is working out better for you than Rochester's working out for the folks who went to Rochester, New York, by a wide margin. Thankfully, that's been one of the few cases. There are some of those cases we've seen in Modesto, California, Austin, Texas, and someone's claiming North Carolina now that they're also having challenges. And we saw that in Virginia, where a case officer actually got fired. They got sacked for doing a poor job. And it's fantastic to see that actually happened, because you should get a good warm welcome. But it's nice to see South Africans reaching out, but that's what South Africans do. I mean, when I go to South Africa, the hospitality is unbelievable. I mean, everybody welcomes me except the EFF.
Obviously, for obvious reasons, yeah.
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 Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So I just want to mention, a few things before, before I forget. So in the USCIS interview in Cape Town, I was asked if there is a state that I would prefer. And I did mention 2 states. However, we did not end up there. So you really don't get to choose where you go. I am very far from the states that I've mentioned or requested when I was asked. So it's just to make sure that people do understand, no, you cannot request to go to a specific state. I did that, or he asked me, do I prefer a specific state? And I gave him that, and we ended up somewhere completely north of where we would have wanted to be. However, we are happy to be here. We are very blessed and we are very thankful. And then just the second thing, people are going to probably ask this over and over again about persecution, why I left South Africa. And yes, I have been persecuted before based on the color of my skin back in 2009. It was very traumatic, and I feel I do not owe anyone an explanation or details on that. However, that is something, that I just wanted to mention. Yes, I did have a fear of future persecution for me and my child in South Africa, and that is why I left.
Well, I'm glad you addressed that. I appreciate that. Someone came on to criticize my previous interview, saying that when I talked to Anthony and Elvira in Sioux Falls, that I didn't mention, because they only mentioned being victims of crime, they didn't mention about racial persecution. Look, I know many of the people I interview, I know what they've gone through, not always, and it's quite horrific and traumatic, and I'm not going to re-adjudicate that or ask them to share that on air. The bottom line is this, is that you people in the chat have no say in this matter. You're watching. We appreciate watching the stream. Even the trolls that are watching, we appreciate watching the stream. Not made all your comments. We appreciate it. But you have no say in this matter. I have no say in this matter. It really doesn't matter what you think or what I think. It's what the USCIS adjudication officer decides whether it's persecution. And that's where the story starts and where it ends. And everyone that doesn't like that, that's too bad. You can foot sec. You have no business in the conversation. And it's not my place to ask refugees to go through the trauma. I mean, I don't know your situation. If you did say that your 2-hour interview was quite detailed and difficult,
yes.
But I've also know people who've had 6-hour interviews because of their history and the story that they tell, and people in tears and sobbing and reliving horrific things. And if you think that you're entitled to come on this program and be told stories that are none of your damn business, then you can just, foot sec. You can just take off. That's not the purpose. The purpose of this is to share stories of refugees who've gone through the process, who've come to America, to reassure those that the program is real. In this program with Minri, we've already covered the fact that she has a mixed race child. So that gets rid of a bunch of lies. She is not a starving, toothless oak. She's not wealthy by any means, I would imagine, but she's not a starving person, and she's well-adjusted. And so I've got to say that, Minri, I've got to give you another compliment here. This is, I have lots of interviews with lots of very balanced and rational people, but you're very balanced, you're very rational, and you approach this in a very healthy manner, and I respect that immensely. And so thank you for addressing that issue. It's nobody's business, and that's the bottom line. The only people's business is the people that make the decision whether you were persecuted. That's all that matters. Not me, not the Amerikaners, not RSC, not the media, not the people in the chat. And in your case, they agreed that you articulated your case sufficiently, and there you are in America. And I think that's the bottom line. Yes. Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Colonel.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. It gets a bit old for people like that. The gentleman accusing me of, or attacking me for not asking the colored couple what they went through. I'm not going to, you don't know what I do and don't know. And it really isn't germane because it's not what it's all about. So I appreciate that. But, it's
got nothing to do with anyone but the USCIS.
Exactly.
That's the people who I shared my details, proof, and the story with, and I don't have to prove it to anyone else. I've gone through the channels, and I am here legally, and they have accepted my application as a refugee, and that's the end of it.
That's where it starts. That's where it finishes. And anyone doesn't like it, that's too bad. It's sour grapes on your part. And anyone that says that one refugee is more deserving than another, that's also an idiotic comment as well. You don't know everyone's circumstance. You don't know the situation. People who are frustrated for timelines, I appreciate that. But again, you're a person that put your interest in May, and you just got here this past week. So yeah. People need to understand that the process is quite challenging, and it can be quite long at times. It was about 6 months, 5 months before you got contacted, 6 months for your first interview, and here you are. It sounds like Valentino's having a good time in the background.
He's talking to himself. He's playing with some toys here.
That's awesome. All righty, cool. All righty. So what else? Let me, before we wrap up, I want to thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And also for being a viewer of the program and sticking with us. As I've said, people keep running around spreading things about me lying, saying I'm making money off of refugees. I suppose they mean because my channel is monetized, but it's not a refugee channel. It's a news channel. And if they begrudge ad revenue, every video on YouTube is monetized, even your videos, even if you don't monetize it, because YouTube monetizes it, they get 100% of the revenue. But anyway, so I do appreciate you coming on to talk to us. And
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to give you a chance to share whatever insights, thoughts, worries, concerns, hopes you might want to share with people who are interested in the program, people who are in the process, and those who've come over here. The floor is yours. Go ahead, Minri. It's your turn.
Thank you. I've had some questions, a lot of messages from people asking me, how does the program work? If you haven't figured it out by now, it's actually very simple. Step 1, US or za.us gov, whatever the email is.
ZAUSembassy.gov.
Yes. Okay. So that's where you start. You go for your interviews, you go for your medicals, you get on a plane. It's simple as that. So that is how it works. And I've had a lot of people not sure. I don't know if I'm going to qualify because I'm not white. I made a video on that as well. You don't have to be white or a farmer, once again. And then I am excited for everyone that is on their way and that is already here. I'm very excited and very, very happy for you guys. And for those still waiting, those emails come when you least expect it. I was literally driving to friends in Langebaan on the 10th of January, not knowing that I'm going to be leaving the next week. And when I got to Langebaan, I opened my emails and it was there. There was my flight ticket. So it comes when you least expect it. And I know it's easier said than done, but do have some patience. It will come. It will come. They haven't forgotten about you. You are in the system. It is there. They will get to you. And I believe that everything happens at the right time, for a reason. So stay strong, guys. And thank you so much for allowing me to do this interview. I really appreciate it. All the best to everyone and to you, Colonel.
Well, thank you, Minri. I'd be reticent if I didn't ask two questions, which I think are apropos. I know I gave you the chance to speak there, but you flew over. It was a very long flight. You had an 11-hour layover. Is there something that you didn't bring that you wish you'd brought, either for yourself or Valentino, because you have a small child? And then the second part of the question is 11 hours. What did you guys do? Did you hang out? Did you sleep? Did you have a debit or credit card so you could buy some food? So is there something that you left behind you wish you'd brought for yourself or Valentino? And what about the layover?
I brought everything that I needed. So in my mind, I was packing for a weekend away. Yes. Okay. Because I knew that on this side, you will get the assistance, and you will get obviously the clothing depending on where you go. I knew that we were coming into cold, and I packed the winter clothes that we had, which is definitely not gonna work here. But I wish I could have packed biltong, but is what it is. I'm gonna have to make biltong myself. My pa het my mooi geleer. My dad did teach me how to make biltong, so I will be making biltong. And then your other question, coming back for 11 hours, we just hovered around the airport. I am used to traveling a lot. Just to, I saw a few comments. How can she be a refugee if she's traveled the world? Doesn't matter if you've been to one country or to 15 countries. Doesn't make you any less of a refugee. So we've traveled a lot. Valentino is used to airports, and when he starts running up and down, I just leave him because it's just energy that he's getting out of his system, which is good.
Well, yeah, that is a good point. It's energy getting out of the system. So, yeah, well, that's good. Thanks for sharing, Minri, and we look forward to hearing more about your adventure. The link to your channel is in the description of this video. It's the first line, even before the hashtags for what the topic is about. So you can find it there, and I encourage people to go over and check out her channel. She's got 3 videos up, I think, so far, unless I missed one. And I'm sure she'll probably do more videos telling you about her excellent adventure in America. As far as picking the United States over Dubai, folks, we're not going to get into that. I mean, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, she probably had a contract and a visa that lasted a period of time, and it expired, and she went back to South Africa. So she has no choice to go back to Dubai. Come on, start putting your thinking caps on. I think the trolls are just out of control today. I'm going to make a video after this addressing that. But anyway, Minri, to you and Valentino, all the best. Welcome to America. I can't raise the ambient temperature for you in Eau Claire, but I can send you warm greetings and a digital hug.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks. I really appreciate it.
All right, cool beans. I'll let you drop off and I'll wrap up, and you guys have a lovely day, okay?
Thank you. Thanks, Colonel.
You're very welcome. All right, so
Bye.
that's Minri Lamprecht, who is in Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Oh, she got out on her own. Okay, cool. Thanks for tuning in. For those who are here for real interest in what's happening and hearing people's experiences. For those of you who are nasty, evil people, you can find some other place to offload. This is not where you bring your garbage. It's not necessary. But thanks to Minri, that was a lovely interview. And once again, we've destroyed the narrative. And that's why these haters are so desperate to come in here and lie about the program. So desperate to distract the conversation. So desperate to undermine the conversation. It's so pathetic. It's so sad to see these people. But they've got real mental health issues, so we'll let them deal with that. In the meantime, congratulations to Minri and to her son who've made it over here, and I wish them the very best, and thank you all for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. I have to make a phone call. People apparently want to beg off of my meet and greet in Texas, but I have no plans to cancel my trip to Texas, so I guess I'll just be driving around Dallas all by myself. All right? Cool. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you later. And again, thanks to Minri and her son, Valentino, who was a little shy on camera, but he talked and said hello to me before that. So definitely a nice kid. Cheers.